Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar in our new webinar series of free webinars, so our 30-minute short webinar series. My name is Michael Rickwood. I am Chief Coaching Officer of Ideas on Stage, and welcome to the 7 deadly sins of online presenting. Well, maybe not so deadly, but definitely annoying. So let's get started. In 2020, we said goodbye to the office and hello to working from home. This is because, well, about 35% of us, the workforce, were able to bring all of their activities from the office and bring it 100% online and work from home. That wasn't true for many other sectors. So we lucky few could continue like this and maintain the activities that we have to do throughout the day. Although it's not been easy, it's been difficult to strike the work-life balance, not been easy to maintain connection with our colleagues and continue all of the busy tasks throughout the day, such as participating in meetings, and of course, listening and giving presentations, which has been an explosion of online presentations. We've seen an explosion of online presentations and webinars, a never-ending stream of not only internal presentations and webinars that we have to attend, but also trainings and many online free webinars happening all at the same time. So with this sort of explosion of webinars, we decided to put together these 7 sins of online presentations because frankly, well, there's a big room for improvement. So let's start with sin number 1, pointless presentations. So it's true in normal times, face-to-face meetings and presentations, pointless presentations in the company workspace, they hurt productivity. It is certainly no different being online. In fact, it can be quite stressful and maddening to sit through pointless webinars and pointless meetings. Just to give you an idea on the topic of how many meetings we're spending, for example, in large organizations, an average employee is spending 10 hours per week, and a supervisor is probably spending around 15 hours per week. This is according to the MIT Sloan Management Review. Senior managers are spending 23 hours per week. So that's really that's half of their working week spent in presentations and meetings. So that's a lot. And apparently, according to this review, a third of that time is wasted on irrelevant conversations, boring presentations, and meandering chit chat. To give you an idea, that would be 7 hours of a senior manager's week wasted with pointless presentations, and actually over a lifetime, it looks like 7 years. Now, I'm not here to say that meetings are bad. Meetings are not bad. Prepared and well-organized meetings are empowering and good for the community. But too many meetings with pointless presentations kill morale and stifle productivity. So that's why we'd like to share with you again the Jeff Bezos approach of Amazon fame, which is what we call the 2-1-0 approach. That is 2 pizzas, 1 hard copy document, and 0 PowerPoint. The 2 pizzas is the idea that no meeting should have too many participants that 2 pizzas can't feed. So really we're looking between 6 and 8 participants, no more, because if you need more pizzas, there's too many people in your meeting. 1 hard document for every participant so that there's a period of 10 minutes where everyone sits down and reads through quietly before having an exchange on the material that's been absorbed. And at no time throughout that meeting are there any PowerPoint slides being shared. Now, we at Ideas on Stage, we don't believe that PowerPoint is necessarily bad. In fact, used well, it's a great thing. But it's true that when it comes down to a choice between using bad PowerPoint or not using PowerPoint at all, not using it at all is a better option. Once in a while or so, we ask the question, could we occasionally cancel the meeting and read something efficient alone and quietly instead? And absolutely, I certainly believe that's the case. And actually for introverts, it's actually better to take some time out to quietly read through a good document, and we could probably get the information in half the time than spending it in a long meeting. So a good document, what does a good document look like? Well, a good document should have 3 A's. The first A is autonomous. That means to say that everything in that document can present itself. You don't need anyone else to present it to you. So it's containing detailed information which we can absorb and learn ourselves through reading it. 2 is that it's accessible, that it's structured in a way in different sections with a good, clear summary that we can navigate it well, particularly if it's a long document, to get to the parts that concern us in particular quickly. And then finally, that it's agreeable, that it's well designed, that there's a good, nice use of fonts and colors, and also that it's visual, that we've got pictures. All of this helps to learn the information in an effective way, and that it's not dull. So yes, sitting down with a good PDF on our computer with a hot coffee or espresso is definitely going to be probably shorter than sitting through a meeting with the same objectives. All right, sin number 2, bad slides. Online presentations are not an invitation for bad slides, and it's true that with all the webinars that I've certainly been watching and participating in, I've seen a nasty creep in to some of those old habits and those old problems of putting too much text on your slides. Imagine if I was to start this webinar today and share these very heavy text-heavy slides and move them too fast so that no one can even catch up with what I'm showing. And it's, again, just to remind everyone that we cannot read and listen at the same time. So please, the same rules of good visual design for slides still counts for online webinars. Just to remind again, those watching, the difference between slides and documents. I spoke already about a document in the first sin with using documents as opposed to boring presentations. Let's just remind ourselves the difference between documents and slides. A slide is for projecting, a document is for printing. A slide supports the speech, a document is a standalone thing. A slide is for watching, it's visual, a document is for reading, so you're taking the time to really immerse yourself and read it without having to listen to anything else. A slide has keywords only, a document has complete sentences, forgive me. Slides generally have dark backgrounds to prevent that very kind of disturbing, continuous white light, which is quite tiring for the eyes, whereas a document usually has a white background because often they're printed on hard copy. A slide, you're looking to remove visual pollution. With a document, of course, you can go into much better detail. Of course, we IDOs on stage, we have our own methodology with slides, which is the SCORE method. So simple, clear, original, related, and enjoyable. I'm not going to go back through all of this. Phil already covered this with a previous webinar, so please check it out on how to put together great slides for webinars in our previous series. But absolutely don't forget those principles because they are very valuable when it comes to presenting online. All right, sin number 3, disorganized presenter. Now, imagine if I began this webinar late in my bathrobe and I clearly hadn't prepared my content properly and I'm trying to revise notes, and also I haven't mastered my platform. So there's the small slide in the corner where my face should be and I'm being presented on full screen. So this is not ideal. And then as I'm speaking, I realize I've actually put myself on mute, which is frustrating for the audience as they send messages through the chat to tell me that I've been on mute. Once I've finally unmuted myself, I'm ready to go. And then it freezes and all of a sudden the internet drops out or it becomes very pixelized and I'm out of the meeting and the webinar. And then all of a sudden, a random participant is then put onto the screen as host who doesn't want to be there. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to get back into the meeting and this doesn't look very good. All the while, the other participants are starting to lose patience as they ask themselves the question, will you please get your act together? So For those of us who have given disorganized webinars or would like to advise others who are giving them, to save face, get on. Sorry, Marina, I've got my son jumping up and down in the kitchen here. Ethan, I'm giving a webinar. Sin number 3, disorganized presenter. So imagine if I began this webinar and I arrived 5 minutes late in my dressing gown, disorganized with my papers flying everywhere. I clearly haven't done enough preparation. And I don't know my platform very well because I've got my slides being projected where my face should be, and where my slides should be, my face is. So I start going, and then as I'm continuing, I realize, of course, I'm on mute because someone has told me via chat. So that's 5 minutes lost. And then I'm ready to go. Then all of a sudden, that's right, the Wi-Fi goes, it cuts, it gets all pixelized, and I drop off. And then some other random participant becomes a host. In this case, it's Sophie. She doesn't know what to do. Then I try to come back in, and all the time, the rest of the people sitting there are asking themselves, will you please get yourself together? I'm losing my time. So for those who've ever been in that situation or seen others in that situation and wish to advise them to save face, the big issue here is to get online early. Get online 15 minutes early. Check your Wi-Fi, your camera, your sound, and also know the platform that you're using, whether it be WebEx or Google Meet or Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Every platform is different, so you really need to know how it works and to not have any nasty surprises last minute. But above all, get on 15 minutes early to avoid these sorts of problems. And it goes without saying, planning your content in advance obviously is going to help you as well. And come dressed not in your dressing gown would also be useful. All right, sin number 4, background image filters. Now this is an interesting topic, and I know it's very subjective because some people like to use these filters, especially if you're presenting from different environments, maybe airports or wherever, although perhaps not right now. But it's true that if the background is always changing and it's not particularly palatable, then it's good to use these filters. Here, for example, I have a background of my home, which I haven't really done any tidying, so I'll put this blurry filter on, although personally I'm not a big fan of it because it makes you look like you're appearing in some 80s American soap opera. But for many people like to use background images, which are fine, I think, for calls with friends, but in a business context, are these really the best pictures that you should be using? Plus also, you get this terrible kind of outline cutting happening as you move around too much in frame. But yeah, are some of these images really always so appropriate for business context, as people scratch their heads and wonder, why is he presenting from space, or why does he have to show us his favorite pet kitten, for example? So yeah, there are, however, other solutions. You can, for example, find a more business-orientated filter. But if otherwise, just finding a good corner of your home, which is relatively uncluttered and attractive and simple, works really, really well because it does give us some proper depth and we don't have any outline issues. Otherwise, you could use a deco screen or a kakimono behind you, as demonstrated by our colleague here, Pierre Mossa, which works really, really well. So if you're regularly giving webinars, you're creating almost like a home studio with that backdrop, and it's relatively inexpensive to produce. Otherwise, for those looking for a more professional background filter effect, then you get a green screen, and then you have no more issues with outlines. All right, sin number 5. Poor interaction. So it's true that virtual attention is very finite, and when people are participating in webinars and meetings online, it's true that it's very difficult to stay attentive if nothing is changing for a long time. Already, I can tell you that I've been speaking with you for 15 minutes, and already without any interaction, that's going to start to get boring. Having listened to some experiences of students listening to sometimes a 4-hour-long lecture without any interaction in this environment is going to kill things stone dead. So first of all, I would like to obviously remind everyone that incorporating exercises using the chat box is absolutely key. And I'd just actually like to create some interaction now and ask everyone here to give me a sign that you're still alive. So please put an exclamation mark into the chat box or a little thumbs up. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. I can see here that I'm getting a response from people. Thank you. Exclamation mark. Great. I've got 2 here from Marine, 3 from Pierre. Thanks very much for that. Awesome. A little thumbs up there from our good friend Sophie. Thank you, Sophie. Excellent. And actually, I just like to make this even more interactive now and ask some people to put in the chat some ideas about how we can make webinars more interactive. So please just add your ideas into the chat right now. That would be awesome. So absolutely, using applications such as Bcast, sure, it incorporates surveys, things. There is actually functions on Zoom which can allow you to do that. Any sort of group activities, and above all, the magic breakout rooms are absolutely indispensable. Absolutely indispensable for particularly long online workshops as a way to allow small groups to work together and come back with their results. And actually, really for me, if you want to be properly interactive, you've got to prepare in advance and give us a structure. And that, for example, a 3-hour training can look very much like this. We have the introduction, people go off into breakout rooms, you come back for further instructions, perhaps some debrief, feedback. It all works really, really well. And most platforms are providing this kind of service now. Even something as just a short community meeting, again, can become interactive if everyone's allowed a bit of time just to share and participate. So this, again, is just a question of how you intend to plan things. So planning when it comes to interaction and creativity is really, really key. And here actually is the Amazon approach. If I was to turn that into a 90-minute decision-making and action meeting, where there you see shortly, just after the introduction, you have a brief 10-minute period for study of a document, then moving on to interaction and actions afterwards. All right. Sin 6, low presenter energy. Absolutely, monotony and online are a bad mix, especially if you're presenting. And if you're using a very sort of low, monotone delivery, if it's very slow and lacking in energy, you're really going to lose your audience very quickly indeed. And actually, when things become boring, then obviously people won't pay attention. And if they're not paying attention, they're not going to learn anything. And if they're not going to learn anything, how are they going to act in the way that you want them to afterwards? In the words of John Medina, author of this all-important book, Brain Rules, the brain simply doesn't pay attention to boring things. So we need energy, we need interaction, we need engagement from the host. So the host has to think like a radio host, or perhaps like a YouTuber, and to be the life and soul of the party and give lots of energy, vocal energy. Basically, eye contact with the camera, look into the camera, get people involved, make them feel like that you're looking at them, good speech articulation, vocal energy, make sure that that's fed with plenty of breath, and yes, some movement and engagement is really going to go a long way. It's the idea, quite simply, I say, is to give 110% to help keep your audience awake when you are presenting. All right. Final sin 7, bad audience. And so forgive me for this last sin. You might be saying to yourselves, well, wait a minute, Michael, I've been a very good audience. I've already sat through all the other 6 sins. I haven't spammed your chat. I haven't done anything wrong. Absolutely. But the problem is that sometimes, once in a while, people will leave their mute button off. Hello. Sophie, could you please put your mute button on? Sophie, oh my goodness, Sophie, please put your mute button. We can't hear anything. Sophie. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much. Sophie muted herself. Yes, absolutely. Mute yourself. And be careful of how to leave for example, to pick up a home delivery. I know that's happening a lot, and believe me, I've been guilty of that. I have participated in trainings and webinars and had an Amazon delivery at the same time. So be careful of that. turn on your camera, and also when you are participating with your camera, try to keep your camera head on with your profile, as opposed to sort of looking down. This is particularly unpleasant for a host to have people looking down on them. So if you can look straight on, that looks really, really good. And yeah, yeah, for a business context, I think that keeping your camera on is definitely a courtesy sign, which is worth considering. Also, if you're going to be called upon to share, prepare your materials in advance, as to not to lose time on the meeting, so that you have everything ready to share. And yes, avoid multitasking. Although I know that we're all doing it, but if we were all in less meetings, then maybe we wouldn't need to multitask so much. So there you have it. 7 sins of online presentations. Not so deadly, but definitely a bit annoying. So sin 1, pointless presentations. Do we need so many presentations? Sin 2, bad slides. Yes, online webinars are not an invitation for bad slides. Sin 3, disorganized presenter. Make sure you, above all, get on early and check everything that's working. Sin 4, background picture filters. Choose what's best for you, what works for you, but do avoid background filters which are not relevant for your context. Sin 5, poor interaction. So plan your webinar, make sure that you've got lots of creative exercise happening to keep people engaged. Sin 6, low presenter energy. Remember to look into the camera, keep yourself animated. 110% of energy is required to keep people involved. And sin 7, don't be a bad audience, be a good audience. Stay present, keep your camera on, and watch that mute button. So that's all we have time for today. Thanks very much for participating. Please, for any further information, do check out our website, www.ideasonstage.com. And please join in for any more of our webinars, which will continue throughout this season. Thanks again.
To be the first to hear about our upcoming webinars, follow us on LinkedIn. You can find all of our previous webinars on our YouTube channel, so please subscribe, and you can find all of our previous webinars on this playlist. Thanks, we'll see you again soon.